We got a 2012 Porsche Panamera. We're gonna be doing the front brakes and the rear brakes. You know, these type of brakes are working for pretty much every Porsche, every newer Porsche. I'd say from like 2008 and up, to even like the 2020s and stuff. Pretty much all the same process. Every type of Porsche, pretty much. So yeah, we'll jump right into it and get everything started. So we'll start with the front brakes. First thing you gotta do is it's a 19 millimeter. You get a 1/2 inch socket and take this wheel off. So I'm pretty sure this isn't the right way to take off the sensor, but this is a way. I just bend this tab right here, and then once the tab is bent, then I just use a little pick or a little pry tool, and I just pry it down so that it separates, just like this. And then from there, we can pull it out. And you can just disconnect it from here. Once it's disconnected, then you can pull it out and swap it. So now I have the space from right here. I can literally just disconnect it like this. You see? And then once you get your new one in, then pop it in, push it in, and pull that tab back. But we don't have to connect it right now. We don't got to worry about it. So once you take these bolts off, you might find that it's pretty fucking hard to separate the caliper off of the rotor. So what I did is I have a pry bar. You don't want to go too hard, but you want to just kind of wiggle it, just like this. Go from the top, and you can go from the bottom, and you just, there you go. Once you slowly kind of pull it off, then it'll be good. For now, you can kind of rest it on top of something, and then once you have a hook, then we can go ahead and hook it in this bolt hole and hold it up so it doesn't fall. There we go. So this is my setup for it. I just have 2 hooks on the upper control arm, just kind of holding it, hanging it there so it doesn't rest on the brake line. Most people say it can rest on the brake line. It's not a big deal, but you know, why the fuck would you do that if you have hooks? Mine didn't have screws on the rotor, so I'm a little lucky on that case, but there are these screw holes there that the rotor should be held in by. If you have an impact screwdriver, something like this that you can hammer on to loosen up the screw, then you should definitely do that. If not, you can hammer around the face of the rotor, and then so you can kind of break the rust free off of where the screw is at, and then it should separate it pretty good, and then you can unscrew it. But I wouldn't just get the good old impact and start taking it out, because you might strip the shit out of it. So after you get these screws out, we can go ahead and pop this rotor off, and we'll start to clean the hub face. Alright, next thing you can do here is just get yourself a wire brush. You see there's just a lot of old rust and debris off this hub, so we'll just start to kind of clean it up. You don't have to necessarily, but if you live in a snowy, rusty area, then you probably should. I don't, but it's kind of your procedure to get it done. Just kind of clean this face off, make sure the rotor mates with the hub nice and easy. There's no other issues or clearance issues with it. Alright, we got this beautiful rotor on. Next, if you haven't already, if you're not jacked up, or if you are jacked up or on a lift, whatever, make sure that you unscrew the brake cap off there. So once we compress the pistons back in the caliper, the fluid will come out that way, and it won't push off anywhere else and make a big mess anywhere else. So next, what we'll need is a piston spreader or a piston compressor, whatever you want to call it. Let me get that guy. Looks like this. You can get them anywhere online if you don't already have one. They're like 30-25 bucks or so. So what you want to do is you can just pop this brake pad out. Boom. And then my spreader is actually small enough where I can just get in here and then leave this brake pad on there to spread it. So I only have one hand, so that's what I'm going to do now. After that, I'm going to put the new pads on. I'm also going to put grease on these pins here, and I'm going to put grease on the back of each brake pad. So grease there, so it slides in a little easier and it's nice and lubed up. No weird intermittent noises when you're braking. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put these bolts in and put this caliper back on after that, and then we'll finish up on the fronts. Alright, once you have your sensor plugged in, it's pretty easy. You can just push it in like this, and then what I use, I mean, you can literally use anything, and then you just gotta go ahead, push it, and pop it in like that. so now it's in for sure. It's not going nowhere. And then after that, yeah, put the wheel back on. I'll clean up some of this. I'll get the brake clean on it, clean this all up, and then we'll go to the rear. There is a warning light that's going to be on if you don't have a scan tool. You have to do something called bed in the brakes in order for the parking brake light to get off. I'm sure there's a couple resets and other ways to do it, but the only way I found out to do it is to get the good old scan tool out and bed in the rear rotors, bed in the e-brake with the rotors. So, you know, that's a little unfortunate, but that might be just how it is. But yeah, I would definitely look further into that if you don't have a scan tool. I know anyone that does have a bi-directional scan tool. But other than that, hope all is well on your guys' brake job. On to the rear now. So for this Cayenne, the parking brake is electric, but there's not actually like it's only electronically actuated through like the it's like a manual parking brake inside the rotor, like the old ones. It's not like inside the caliper. You know, I've read that you don't have to technically put it in maintenance mode, but I still did with a scan tool. So, you know, that being said, I'm sure there's some ways like manually to put it into maintenance mode if you want to be safe, or even if you have like the sport model or something else where the e-brake is actually, you know, built into the caliper. So I would definitely give it a look up online and do some research before, but I didn't. So, you know, that being said, we'll just go ahead and take off our 19mm bolts for the wheel. So kind of a similar setup, but you got two T55s here. We'll start to remove first to take this caliper off. We'll start by doing that right now. Alright, so kind of exactly the same setup here. We got our brake pad sensor right here, so I'm just going to turn this guy out, turn this guy, and then this guy I'll swap the brake pad sensor right now and just plug it in and stuff. You know, kind of the same setup as the front, just kind of use a pry in here to kind of break this like weird brake pad seal free, and then you could pop that caliper off, and then we'll start to replace everything off of it. Alright, pretty much same exact setup here, except this time I'm going to pop both of these pads off so I can use my spreader tool, and it should just fit perfectly in between there. Spread it out, we'll grease up these guys, we'll swap the pads, and then we're going to change this rotor as well. So you need to screw there, pull the rotor off. We'll swap that guy right now too. Alright, so I got the rotor on, got the pads on. Now all we gotta do is get our sensor back on, plug that guy in. That's pretty much it. If you have a scan tool, there's some bending in procedures that need to be done, but if you don't have one, honestly, don't worry about it. It's not super important. And then after that, we'll put the wheel on. We'll go in for a test drive. Make sure you closed your cap for your brake fluid, and then after that, you should be good to go. So I'm gonna finish up here, and I'll see you next time. Peace.